In the end, even geniuses will fade into the crowd. Daoist Xianxiang looked at Lu Ping in front of him, and his heart churned with such thoughts. However, he did not think that he was in the top 30 of the North Sea rookie list. In the eyes of others, he was also a genius. It was just that Lu Ping was younger than him, had a faster cultivation growth, and was ranked higher on the rookie list. That was why he had such thoughts. In the end, it was all because of jealousy. Lu Ping did not decline. Seeing that his opponent was ready, the golden scale sword let out a long cry and pierced toward Daoist Xianxiang. Daoist Xianxiang was not Daoist Xianyu, so he would not let Lu Ping break his spell and injure his wrist. The pair of curved blades in his hands crossed in the air and blocked the golden scale sword. Daoist Xianxiang easily blocked Lu Ping's attack, and a cold smile appeared on his face. It seemed to confirm his previous guess about Lu Ping. However, before the smile disappeared from his face, he saw the golden scale sword suddenly transform into a dark blue giant sword that pierced through the sky, directly slashing toward him. Daoist Xianxiang was right. Although magical powers were powerful, it also depended on who was using them. After Lu Ping had advanced to the mid-core forging stage by smelting a heaven-grade spiritual object, the power of the true essence sword strike had more than doubled. Daoist Xianxiang's expression changed dramatically. His hands were like butterflies flying through flowers, and in one breath, he made dozens of hand seals. The pair of curved blades danced in the air, forming a blade storm that nibbled at the giant sword. Unexpectedly, this was also a minor magical power. However, in front of Lu Ping's true essence sword strike, this blade storm was like a clay chicken or pottery dog. The giant sword pierced straight through the sky and fiercely slashed toward Daoist Xianxiang, who was in disbelief. Clang! An ear-piercing sound rang out. Daoist Xianxiang, who was trying his best to dodge, could only recall his curved blades and use all of his true essence to block Lu Ping's sword strike. Daoist Xianxiang's complexion suddenly turned purple. Daoist Xianxiang realized that Lu Ping's first attack was only a probe, but he had underestimated his opponent because of that sword strike. However, was it really an underestimation? Lu Ping looked at Daoist Xianxiang's faintly trembling hands with a disdainful expression. Lu Ping's expression fell into Daoist Xianxiang's eyes and made him feel ashamed and resentful. Daoist Xianxiang roared, and the pair of curved blades turned into a rolling blade wheel that carried a whistling wind as it pressed toward Lu Ping. Wind blade wheel, another minor magical power. Daoist Xianxiang had once used this minor magical power to kill a demon cultivator of the same level in one fell swoop. This was the ultimate skill that made him famous. Lu Ping let out a long laugh and said, "Looks like senior brother Xianxiang's accumulation still needs to be improved. Since senior brother wants to have a great battle to your heart's content, then senior brother Xian, you shouldn't be a spectator." The golden scale sword turned into a sky full of sword light, instantly forming a sword dragon. The sword dragon turned ingeniously in the sky and used its tail to swing toward the side of the blade wheel. With one strike, Daoist Xianxiang's famous wind blade wheel was broken into two curved blades. Under Daoist Xianxiang's shocked and furious expression, Lu Ping's sword dragon once again drew a big several in the sky. This time, Daoist Xianxiang, who was watching from the side, was also included. Lu Ping's words were very clear. Since you, Daoist Xianxiang, want to have a great battle, then you can't be the only one. You have to let me have a great battle as well. However, the key point is that you, Daoist Xianxiang, are not strong enough to have a great battle with me. So, I, Lu Ping, can only reluctantly fight 1 against 2 and see if I can have a great battle. This was naked mockery and thick disdain. Daoist Xianxiang had always thought highly of himself, so how could he be ridiculed like this? As his two blades tried to block the golden scale sword's endless attacks, an ancient mirror suddenly appeared in his hand. He waved it toward Lu Ping and a ray of spirit light shrouded Lu Ping. Lu Ping wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Not only was this ray of spirit light fast, but it seemed to have locked onto Lu Ping. No matter where he dodged, the ray of spirit light followed him like a shadow and imprinted itself on Lu Ping's body. Lu Ping suddenly felt as if he had been hit by an immobilizing spell and couldn't move. Daoist Xian Xiang let out half a laugh, but it was as if something was strangling his neck and he swallowed the second half of his laughter. Another Lu Ping had already appeared on the other side, and the Lu Ping imprinted by the spirit light had turned into a puddle of water. With one golden scale sword, Lu Ping surrounded Xian Xiang and Xian Yu, two cultivators in the middle stage of the core forging realm. The two of them used everything they had, but they could not do anything to Lu Ping. They could only roar in anger. The three of them were fighting in front of the gate of Heaven Spirit Mountain's land of inheritance, so there was no way the commotion would be small. Jinling core forging realm cultivators in the area had long since formed a huge net with their divine senses as they watched the fight closely. However, at that moment, Lu Ping could use the golden scale sword with ease. Even when Xian Xiang and Xian Yu worked together, they could not break through the sword net Lu Ping had set up. They could only struggle bitterly. If this continued, it was only a matter of time before the two of them were defeated. He had already drilled out of the ship, but the golden scale sword had already destroyed the ship. Daoist Xian Zhou's heart ached as he put away the broken ship and roared, "I'll fight you all." Then he summoned a black iron puppet and a bronze puppet and jumped back into the fray, attacking everyone around him. "I am Xian Xing, look at my fire meteor." A middle-aged cultivator strode forward, one of his hands pointing up into the sky. When he arrived before them, he turned his hand downwards and a clump of fire clouds that had unknowingly gathered abruptly descended a rain of fire to envelop them all. So. However, not waiting for this group of fire clouds to be launched for a long time, a group of dark clouds had unknowingly appeared above it. Lu Ping's golden scale sword splashed out, and a series of strange sword techniques comprehended from the land of inheritance hit Daoist Xian Zhou's bronze puppet, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Then he made a hand sign and shouted, "Descend." A bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, followed by dense needle-like rain sprinkling from the dark clouds above the fire clouds. In a moment, the fire clouds were completely watered. Art of moving clouds and summoning rain. After Lu Ping refined the profound essence heavy water and advanced to the middle stage of core forging, each of the North Sea's 12 orthodox techniques in Lu Ping's hands was no less powerful than a minor magical ability. The number of people fighting in the melee had already reached the middle stage of core forging, but Lu Ping still had the absolute advantage. He madly attacked everyone along the way, and the circle formed by the golden scale sword was getting bigger and bigger. At the same time, he also used a variety of magical attacks, overwhelming everyone. However, everyone's magical attacks towards Lu Ping were blocked by a thick layer of light curtain. Lu Ping had already condensed 5 water elemental natural treasures, and each time he condensed a substantial amount of natural treasures, the 5-layered water curtain chi in front of him was almost as strong as a spirit channeling grade defensive mystic treasure. The defensive power of the 5-layered water curtain chi was almost on par with a spirit channeling grade defensive mystic treasure. Is this still a fucking minor protective divine ability? Reverend Profound Thunder's angry curse caused all the people attacking Lu Ping to feel the same way. The melee might seem chaotic, but every single cultivator followed a certain pattern. They either attacked or retreated, and none of them brought out any defensive enchanted treasures. Because of that, Lu Ping's protective chi might seem to have a great advantage, but in truth, since Lu Ping was the strongest in the melee, even though everyone was attacking each other, every time Lu Ping attacked, his attacks were too powerful, and everyone had to work together to block them. On the other hand, if they wanted to threaten Lu Ping, they had to work together to attack Lu Ping, and only then would they be able to make Lu Ping wary. This battle seemed to have attracted the interest of the middle-stage core forging cultivators on Heaven Spirit Mountain. "Ha, I, Xianchen, am here." Reverend Xuanshang shouted, "Uncle Master, this is a competition between us juniors. Why are you interfering?" Reverend Xianchen glared at him and scolded, "Brat, why are you spouting so much nonsense? We'll talk after we fight." Right when Reverend Xianchen finished speaking, a bolt of sunflower lightning fell on him without a sound. Reverend Xianchen cursed loudly, which Brat launched a surprise attack. Rolling yellow dust swept towards them. Even though it did not block the group's vision, the people fighting suddenly felt their bodies freeze, as if they were affected by the yellow dust and became less agile. Reverend Schwanchen's smug laughter rang out. "Brats, how's the power of this minor divine ability?" "Dust settles," from the old man. Right when he finished speaking, a wave suddenly surged up from the yellow dust and pounced in one direction. A clean path instantly appeared in the yellow dust. Reverend Shenchen shouted angrily, "Who was it? Who broke my art?" "Uncle Master Shenchen, you're still as bad as ever. You only take advantage of others and never suffer losses." When Lu Ping looked over, he saw that Reverend Shenchen, the disciple of Jiang Tianlin and Laozu of Xiaoyao, had also charged in. Previously, whenever someone joined the battle, Lu Ping would be the first to attack. However, Reverend Shenchen had always given Lu Ping a good impression. Besides, Zhonghua and the disciples of Xiaoyao had always thought of themselves as family, so there was no reason for Lu Ping to attack his senior brother. More and more people joined the battle. Lu Ping had been maintaining an aggressive stance, but now, he had no choice but to restrain himself. In the end, the 18 cultivators in the middle stage of the core forging realm fought on their own and attacked everyone else besides themselves. The scale of the battle also grew larger, but to Lu Ping's surprise, the battle did not cause any damage to the environment around them. Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. He carefully probed the surroundings with his divine sense and found that an invisible barrier had formed around them. It seemed like they were fighting here, but in fact, they were in a space that was isolated from the surrounding environment. This was definitely the work of Fa Xiang Laozu. There were already Fa Xiang Laozu who had noticed their battle. However, this was inevitable. It would be strange if Fa Xiang Laozu didn't take it seriously when 18 cultivators in the middle stage of the core forging realm were fighting at the entrance of Tianling Mountain's inheritance. There might be fighting spirit, provocation, or unwillingness in their eyes, but there was one thing they all shared in common: respect for the strong. Lu Ping's eyes were filled with fighting spirit, provocation, and even unwillingness. But there was one thing in common: respect for the strong. The chaotic battle in the back mountain of Tianling Mountain was destined to be talked about enthusiastically by the Jinling cultivators, and even passed down. Chapter 395. The battle at the back of Tianling Mountain attracted more and more Jinling cultivators' attention. In the open space at the edge of the battle, a ball of light suddenly appeared. A cultivator who was not much older than Lu Ping appeared in the ball of light. The cultivator looked left and right. When he saw the people who were fighting, he happily said, "You guys continue. I'll set up a formation to surround all of you. If you have the ability, you can break the formation alone. If you don't want to be shameless, you can also join hands with others to break the formation." After saying that, he ignored the people who were engaged in a chaotic battle and raised his hand, causing several kinds of formation tools to fall around the battlefield. Lu Ping found this person interesting. Formation masters rarely participated in the battle between cultivators. Not only did this person want to interfere, but he also wanted everyone to wait for him to finish setting up the formation. How could it be so easy? Lu Ping laughed loudly. "If you want to set up the formation, you can. But first, you have to go through this and report your name first." With that said, a silver jade seal suddenly flew out from the middle of the battle. It grew several tens of feet high in the sky and smashed down towards the cultivator who was about to set up the formation. The bottom of the jade seal was engraved with two ancient characters: landslide. The cultivator suddenly felt as if he had been stuck by this seal. No matter where he went, he would not be able to escape from the landslide. The people who were fighting seemed to agree with Lu Ping's method. Although Lu Ping was being besieged by everyone, when he used landslide, no one stopped him. The cultivator let out a strange cry and said, "See how I, enlightened Master Shenwei, break your big seal." A formation board that looked like the terrain of a mountain was held up high by enlightened Master Shenwei. Then, the clothes that he was wearing suddenly lit up with spirit light. Countless formation runes flashed on his clothes, resonating with the formation board in his hand. The formation board in enlightened Master Xuanwei's hand suddenly grew bigger. It was as if a mountain was really created in the back of Tianling Mountain. Just when landslide whistled down, the ground suddenly cracked into a bottomless abyss, wanting to swallow landslide whole. Taoist Xian Wei smiled complacently. This grand seal of yours is called landslide, but this formation of mine is called shatter, and it just happens to counter this grand seal of yours. Lu Ping smiled and pointed his finger into the distance. Landslide, which was about to be devoured, suddenly paused in midair. Its body gradually shrank and was about to fly back to the battlefield. Taoist Master Xian Wei shouted, "You still want to take back your magic treasure? You'll have to see if I agree to it first." The shatter formation continued to operate. To successfully chase away Lu Ping, who had been standing at the center of the battle, they had even given up on the rules of the chaotic battle just now and launched a joint assault on Lu Ping. However, in the end, they still failed at the last moment. At that moment, Taoist Master Xian Wei's crazed laughter suddenly came from beyond the battlefield. Everyone, the rune has been set up. Now, it's up to whoever has the ability to walk out of this rune. Let me make this clear, you can only come at me one by one. If anyone is shameless enough to work together to break the rune, I will naturally be unable to do so as well. However, if you can't break it, then obediently hand over some of the spirit materials you can use to set up the rune, and I will let you go. Don't tell me that you don't have anything on you. If a mighty cultivator in the middle stage of the Jinling core forging realm doesn't have anything on him, then he will be a disgrace to our sect. It was only at that moment that the people who were engaged in the chaotic battle noticed that a dark screen of light had enveloped them at some point in time. Alright, I'll go first. Taoist Xian Shang knocked away a few attacks that tried to stop him and took a huge step forward. His long spear suddenly formed 72 spear afterimages that were the size of bowls in the sky. They attacked the 72 screens of light of the rune, but a muffled bang rang out, and Taoist Xian Shang, who was charging forward, was forced back by a huge force. Once he was sent flying back, Taoist Master Xian Shang suffered a few attacks that looked like they were trying to take advantage of the situation, causing Taoist Xian Shang, who had always been peerlessly brave and fierce in the chaotic battle, to roar in anger. However, because he could not replenish his true origin, he was forced to retreat again and again until he was at the very edge of the chaotic battle. When he saw how pathetic Taoist Xian Shang was, Taoist Master Xian Wei laughed wantonly outside the rune. He was incredibly pleased, and it made Taoist Xian Shang grit his teeth, but he could do nothing about it. After Taoist Xian Shang failed, Taoist Xian Xing and Taoist Xian Lei attacked one after another, but none of them were able to break out of the rune. Only then did the group become serious about the rune with the black screen of light. As expected of a cultivator of the older generation, Taoist Xian Chen was experienced and knowledgeable. After launching 2 consecutive attacks without any results, he seemed to have gained some understanding towards runes. He could not help but curse loudly, "Xian Wei, you wastrel! You actually used an artifact made from second-grade spirit materials to set up a rune? Are you trying to trap and kill a monster?" Taoist Master Xuanwei's irritating laughter once again came from outside the formation. He said, "Martial Uncle Xianchen, we absolutely can't lose this time. No matter what, 18 of our sect's middle stage core forging cultivators were trapped here by me. Wouldn't it be a matter of pride if word got out? Besides, if you want to go out, you have to leave some benefits for me. I believe that my senior and junior brothers will not leave behind any trash, right? If that happens, you will not just be embarrassing yourselves. You can't let outsiders think that all the cultivators in the middle stage of the core forging realm from our sect are so shabby, right?" Just when Taoist Xian Wei was bragging about himself in a smug manner, he did not notice that green light was shining in Lu Ping's eyes. His great divine thought was carefully searching for something in the screen of light of the rune. Then, as if he had discovered something, the green light in Lu Ping's eyes instantly disappeared. The golden scale sword in his hand trembled, and a sword whine instantly rang through the entire rune. Chapter 396. If the crowd wanted to break the great rune Reverend Xian Wei had set up during the chaotic battle, they first had to have the ability to stand out. After Reverend Xian Shang and the others failed to break the rune one after another, the crowd's gazes turned to Lu Ping, who had yet to attack. Because of that, the encirclement against Lu Ping became even tighter. In this chaotic battle, Lu Ping was tacitly acknowledged by the crowd as the strongest. After Reverend Xian Shang and the other elites failed to break the rune one after another, the other cultivators naturally did not have much confidence in breaking the rune on their own. At that moment, Lu Ping became the cultivator with the highest possibility of breaking the rune. Since no one can get out, then you're naturally not an exception. If we're going to pay the ransom money, how can we not give you your share? Since everyone is going to lose face, then everyone will lose face together. At that moment, almost all the cultivators in the chaotic battle had this thought, and the previous chaotic battle seemed to have changed. For every 10 moves the cultivators delivered, 5 or 6 of them would subconsciously move in Lu Ping's direction, making it clear that they were all going through thick and thin together. When Lu Ping saw that the chaotic battle had turned into an encirclement, he could do nothing about it. There was no way he could not tell what the crowd was thinking. Among them, the ones who surrounded him the most were Xian Shang, Xian Lei, Xian Chen, and a few others. They had failed to break the rune, but they were also rather powerful cultivators. Lu Ping did not know how things had turned out this way. He had sparred against Reverend Xian Xiang to establish his might and intimidate the people who had plotted against him in the dark, but in the end, things had turned out this way. Lu Ping might be confident that he was powerful, but when he was surrounded by so many cultivators, he could not help but feel tired, and the anger in his heart only grew stronger. Since he wanted to establish his might, then he might as well make things worse. Lu Ping made up his mind. Originally, he had already discovered some loopholes in the grand formation laid out by enlightened Xian Wei through the 3 clear true pupils. Lu Ping was confident that with his strength, he would be able to break the formation by using the one Qi sword Qi. However, Lu Ping had the intention to establish his might. Since he wanted to break the formation, he would break it thoroughly. The sword hum resounded throughout the entire array space. Not only did it make the cultivators who were besieging Lu Ping feel their hearts tighten, even Dao Master Xian Wei who was outside the array space felt his heart skip a beat. Lu Ping stabbed forward with his sword, and a huge torrent of swordsmanship swept away everything in its path. He swung the golden scale sword again, and another torrent of swordsmanship roared out. The people besieging Lu Ping retreated one after another. However, the torrent of swordsmanship in Lu Ping's hands did not seem to stop there. Lu Ping stabbed out a total of 12 times, and the 12 torrents of swordsmanship rushed out in all directions with Lu Ping as the center. The 12 torrents of swordsmanship appeared chaotic, but in fact, they were connected to each other to form a giant net. All the cultivators who were involved in the melee, regardless of whether they were besieging Lu Ping or not, were bombarded by the 12 torrents of swordsmanship. For a moment, the entire array space was filled with the roars of magic spells, the sounds of magic treasures colliding and the angry shouts of the cultivators. He was too arrogant. He actually wanted to challenge 17 cultivators at the same level as him by himself. For a moment, all the cultivators within the array space were united against a common enemy and they launched a counterattack against Lu Ping. At that moment, Lu Ping had a solemn expression on his face and there was a trace of ruthlessness in the corners of his eyes. The golden scale sword suddenly appeared above Lu Ping's head, and the sword hum rang out once more. The 12 torrents of swordsmanship, with the golden scale sword as the center, formed a huge vortex of swordsmanship, which shot towards all the cultivators except for Lu Ping. Not good. This is a sword array. Once again, Dao Master Xianchen was the first to recognize Lu Ping's technique. The longer he lived, the more knowledgeable he would have. The Great Magic Sword Array. The Great Magic Sword Array has already reached the perfected stage. How is this possible? Let's work together to resist, otherwise no one will benefit. Lu Ping had practiced the 100 Rivers into the Sea sword technique to the perfected stage of the Great Magic Sword Array. Even though he was almost invincible among the cultivators at the same level as him, Lu Ping was still not arrogant enough to think that he had the ability to fight the other 17 cultivators at the same level as him. After all, even Dao Master Guoxian Shan, after seeing the chaotic battle, did not think that he had the ability to suppress the other 17 cultivators at the same level as him. Instead, he turned around and left. Lu Ping and Dao Master Guoxian Shan, who was a half-step to the Dharma realm, were worlds apart. Naturally, he would not have such reckless thoughts. The huge 100 rivers into the sea sword array strangled everyone's attacks. Some of the weaker cultivators, such as Dao Master Xuanxiang and Dao Master Xianyu, whom Lu Ping wanted to scheme against, were also seriously injured by Lu Ping. In the future, he could naturally use the excuse of not being able to fully control the great magic sword array to escape. This was also a lesson for them. After all, Lu Ping could also sense that a few mid-core forging cultivators did not have the courage to scheme against him. They were just a few stupid lackeys. However, at this time, Lu Ping was also very strained. His control of the sword array was almost at its limit. After all, not every cultivator could withstand the siege of 17 cultivators at the same level as him. Finally, after the entire array was stabilized, the golden scale sword once again let out a soul-stirring scream. The entire sword array soared into the sky. The 12 torrents of swordsmanship were like 12 sharp tentacles, stabbing toward the black light curtain of the entire array. What happened in the array space naturally couldn't be hidden from enlightened Master Xian Wei. At this moment, enlightened Master Xian Wei was panicking. He almost jumped up and down as he scolded Lu Ping, "Bastard, do you really have to use such a method to break through the array formation? My iron curtain array formation, this is a big loss." Like a thin layer of paper, the black light curtain was easily shredded into pieces by Lu Ping's great sword array. A series of explosions sounded around the array, and the tools that were set up earlier exploded one by one amidst enlightened Master Xian Wei's screams of pain. The black jade array disc in his hand cracked and cracks appeared on its surface, causing enlightened Master Xian Wei's mouth to twitch as he felt his heart ache for Lu Ping. Looking at Lu Ping, who broke out of the array with an apologetic expression, Dao Master Xuanwei's eyebrows twitched. If it was not for the fact that he knew that he was no match for Lu Ping, he would have already pounced on him and fought him to the death. Dao Master Xianwei had used 7 to 8 second-grade spirit materials in the array he set up this time, and if he used them to refine artifacts, he could turn 7 to 8 top-grade enchanted artifacts into enchanted treasures. He had originally wanted to extort all the people here, then take back the tools used to set up the array and use the chance to make a fortune. However, he did not expect that he would run into a strange cultivator like Lu Ping, who had destroyed the entire array. Right when Lu Ping broke the array, a black door suddenly appeared beside Lu Ping. A huge suction force came from it, and even with Lu Ping's abilities, he could not help but fall into the door and disappear. Then, the black door disappeared in a flash in midair. Lu Ping only felt his vision darken. Behind him, he could still hear the gloating laughter of Dao Master Xian Shang, Dao Master Xian Lei, and the others. The sound of them flying through the air could also be heard, along with Dao Master Xuanwei's exasperated roars. "Don't go, you bastards! You didn't break this array. Come back! My spirit material!" Jiang Tianlin Laozu, who was standing at the side, smiled and said, "Kid, this is our sect's Tian Fan Laozu. Why don't you greet him again?" Lu Ping was shocked. His sect had 3 mid-Dharma stage Laozu. He had already met Tian Xiang Laozu, and this Tian Fan Laozu was the other mid-Dharma stage Laozu. This Tian Fan Laozu could be said to be the most famous in the sect and even in the North Sea training world. This was because Tian Fan Laozu and his cultivation partner, the sect's 3rd mid-Dharma stage adept, Tian Shui Laozu, were known as the Wind and Snow Immortals. These two Laozu had practiced a secret combined attack technique of the sect. It was because of this combined attack technique that Tian Fan Laozu and Tian Shui Laozu could fight against Xian Ling sect's late Dharma stage Daoxing Laozu. It could be said that the reason why Zhenling was able to fight against Xian Ling's sect in the North Sea was because the Wind and Snow Immortals kept Daoxing Laozu in check. Chapter 397. In the past, when Lu Ping was still a blood refinement cultivator, he had once joined hands with Xian Ling sect cultivators to fight against the monsters outside Xian Qi Island. At that time, when the monsters' scheme against the core forging cultivators from both sects failed, Xian Ling sect, Jinling sect, and the monsters all sent Dharma manifestation cultivators to mediate the situation. At that time, Lu Ping's abilities were so low that he could not even see the figures of core forging cultivators, much less Dharma manifestation cultivators like Laozu. However, when Jinling's wind and snow immortals appeared, the scene of wind and snow filling the sky still shocked Lu Ping to this day. Lu Ping went forward respectfully, bowed, and said, "Disciple Lu Xianping greets Uncle Master Tian Fan." Tian Fan Laozu gestured with a smile, and only then did Jiang Tianlin say, "All right, wait here for a while. I still have something for you to do later." Once he finished speaking, Jiang Tianlin Laozu stretched out a finger and drew a line in front of him. A black door, similar to the one that had captured Lu Ping just now, suddenly appeared. Then, Reverend Xian Shang, who had been fighting against Lu Ping just now, was flung out of the door while staggering. Reverend Xian Shang was not an idiot. Even though he had been captured out of the blue, he knew that the person who had captured him in such a bizarre manner was definitely not an ordinary person. Hence, just like Lu Ping, he first stood properly, and once he saw the people sitting in the hall clearly, he went forward and bowed. Jiang Tianlin Laozu drew a few more doors, and Reverend Xian Lei and Reverend Xian Xing, who had been fighting against Lu Ping and the others, as well as Reverend Xian Wei, who had his spirit materials for setting up his formation destroyed by Lu Ping, appeared in the hall together with a long face. After everyone greeted the seniors of the sect, Patriarch Jiang Tianlin said, "You guys are quite bold. How dare you fight in front of our sect's land of inheritance? Furthermore, it's a chaotic battle. Do you think our sect is your own backyard?" Spiritual Master Jiang Tianlin had always been free and unfettered. Although he did not reprimand them harshly, he still had a dignified air about him. Lu Ping and the others did not dare to be presumptuous in front of Fa Xiang Laozu. They all admitted their mistakes and did not try to defend themselves. Seeing that the five of them were tactful, Jiang Tianlin directly said, "Since you've made a mistake, you need to be punished." Recently, the sects of the North Sea have discovered the traces of a spirit or vein on an ice island at the extreme north of the North Sea. Initial speculation is that it is a middle-sized spirit or vein. Right now, all the sects are preparing to send people to investigate. I, Jinling, have always been at odds with the demon race, and we are short on core forging cultivators. Reverend Guxianshan thought about it and said, "In that case, the alliance of the overseas demon races is a fact. The seahorse race has never liked the cold water of North Sea and has always been breeding in East Sea and South Sea. Now that they've come to North Sea, in addition to the information Junior Brother Chu obtained from the Soul Search, the sects in North Sea should be able to confirm it." Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled and said, "In fact, the sects in North Sea have long believed it. However, although the sects in North Sea call it an alliance, it's actually just a door for the sects to compromise with each other. If they were to really take on the responsibility of coordinating the sects and jointly resist the attack of the demon races, I'm afraid that the sects will fight for the right to speak in the alliance for a while." Tian Fan Laozu also said, "The time and how this alliance will be formed is calculated by the sects every step, but it's really hard to say now. Moreover, since the overseas demon races have formed an alliance, the sects in North Sea, East Sea, and South Sea will come into contact sooner or later. North Sea is weak, and once the sects in the three regions form an alliance, how to strengthen the sects in North Sea in the alliance will be another problem." Lu Ping stood there and listened quietly to the four of them discussing the major events of the cultivation world, not daring to make the slightest movement. Jiang Tianlin and the others seemed to have forgotten that there was a third-generation disciple in the hall. Therefore, Lu Ping heard many secrets of the cultivation world. After the four of them discussed the countermeasures, Jiang Tianlin looked at Lu Ping, who was standing there, and said with a smile, "Is there anything else?" Lu Ping thought for a while and said, "I don't know if Grandmaster has heard of a demon cultivator in the demon race called Aou. He should be in the late stage of core forging." Hearing the name Aou from Lu Ping, Jiang Tianlin Laozu's eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. Perfected Guoxian Shan was a little surprised, and Perfected Chu Xuanqing frowned and asked, "Little Lu, where did you hear this name from?" Lu Ping then told the four of them about how he sent Lu Dagui to infiltrate the overseas demon races. Other than the identity of Samling Green Sea Snake and the identity of Luan Yu's Wood Luan Bird, which were more sensitive, Lu Ping was not afraid of others knowing about his other spirit pets. Maybe Lu Ping could even get credit from the sect for his spirit pets. After a while, Jiang Tianlin Laozu said slowly, "After so many years, AOU is also taking the last step." Perfected Guoxian Shan also nodded and said, "This person's wisdom is not inferior to senior brother Tianlin and senior sister Tianling. I think the heaven and earth spirit treasure sent by the East Sea Demon Cultivator is not lower than the mid-grade heaven stage." Chapter 398. Senior Uncle Xian Sen. Lu Ping saw the person in front of him and greeted in surprise. The person in front of him was spiritual master Xian Sen, who had been heavily injured by the demon race 3 years ago and had almost lost all of his cultivation. Because of Lu Ping's spirit water channel nurturing pill, spiritual master Xian Sen had been cultivating in seclusion to recover his cultivation. He didn't expect to see him on Frost Island today. "Senior uncle's cultivation has recovered?" Spiritual Master Xian Sen smiled and said, "This time, it really was a blessing in disguise. Thanks to the channel nurturing pill you made, not only did I recover my cultivation, I even managed to reach the 8th level of the core forging realm after consuming Senior Uncle Fornax's Bell Cauldron pill." Xian Shang and the others also came forward to congratulate him. Spiritual Master Xian Sen smiled and said, "Come with me. Right now, Frost Island is filled with turbulent undercurrents. I was worried that we wouldn't have enough manpower, so senior brother Tianlin sent you over." Lu Ping and the others followed behind Spiritual Master Xian Sen and walked towards a camp on the island. Spiritual Master Xian Shang and Spiritual Master Xian Lei were both impatient people. On the way, they asked, "Senior Uncle, how is the situation on the island? Have you found traces of the Spirit Stone Mine?" Spiritual Master Xian Sen's expression was slightly grave as he said, "Frost Island is covered in accumulated ice and snow. The thinnest part is 500 feet from the ground. Also, this ice has accumulated for tens of thousands of years, and its hardness far exceeds imagination. It is extremely difficult to find the Spirit Stone Mine." When Spiritual Master Xian Sen finished, he turned to Spiritual Master Xian Wei and said, "Junior nephew Xian Wei is a formation master in our sect who is second only to junior sister Xian Chen. You are also very skilled in surveying earth veins. This time, junior nephew Xian Wei will have to do more work for the search and fight for the Spirit Stone Mine. We will naturally do our best to help." When he finished, Spiritual Master Xian Sen looked at the others. Lu Ping and the others said in unison, "That is how it should be." Enlightened Master Xian Wei changed his playful personality from before. His expression became somewhat solemn as he pondered. He asked, "Even if it's just a medium-sized spirit stone mine, since all the sects in the North Sea have already come forward and there's even a late-stage core forging cultivator like Martial Uncle guarding it, I believe that all the sects must have had an exchange agreement in private. Why are they acting so jittery now?" Spiritual Master Xian Sen said seriously, "You're right. Just a day ago, a cultivator from the Water Mist Pavilion who is proficient in surveying earth veins discovered a mid-sized spirit vein at the bottom of an ice mountain cliff on Frost Island. When they saw that the number of people patrolling the island first increased from 5 to 4, and then from 4 to 3, there was no way the sects would not think that Jinling had his own wishful thinking. Hence, they all sent cultivators to seize the areas where spirit stone veins might appear on Frost Island. Xianling sect, Shui Yan Pavilion, and Ocean Flame sect were the first to notice that there might be a large spirit stone vein on the island. Then, as if they were on the verge of breaking out into a fight, they sent people from their sects to make preparations to seize the large spirit stone vein that might exist on Frost Island. However, in order to hide it from the other sects, the 3 sects did not conduct any large-scale surveys after sending their cultivators over. As a result, after Jinling saw through the three sects' scheme and directly began to survey the spirit stone vein, the three sects' progress in surveying the spirit vein was actually behind Jinling's. One day later, 9 core forging cultivators from Jinling and his allies, Chongming's sect, Jade Sword sect, and Songhai sect, arrived. Accompanying them were more than 100 low-level cultivators from the 4 sections. Among the 9 core forging cultivators, there were 3 each from Chongming, Jade Sword, and Songhai. However, Jinling did not send any more core forging cultivators. It was obvious that this was an unspoken rule among the sects of the North Sea. However, Jinling sent 4 teams of Blood Condensation Realm disciples and 6 teams of Blood Refining Realm disciples. The rest of the low-level cultivators came from the other 3 sections. In the Blood Condensation Realm, Jinling's teams were usually led by a late Blood Condensation Realm cultivator, 2 mid-Blood Condensation Realm cultivators, and 3 early Blood Condensation Realm cultivators. The Blood Refining Realm teams, on the other hand, had to be at least at the late Blood Refining Realm. After the low-level cultivators arrived, Jinling took the lead and started mining the areas that they had already surveyed. The other 3 sects also occupied some of the areas that they might be able to mine. Although the low-level cultivators from Xian Ling's sect, Shui Yan Pavilion, and Hai Yan's sect had not arrived yet, they had already occupied a few areas. However, their manpower was limited, so they could only watch as Jinling took over the areas that they had their eyes on. Another day later, the cultivators from the other sects also arrived and joined in the division of the Frost Island. In a short period of time, the Frost Island, which was the size of a medium-sized island, had accommodated 46 core forging realm cultivators. The other 3 blood condensation and blood refining realm cultivators who were used to mine the ice made up more than 300. The Frost Island, which had always been deserted, suddenly became a boiling cauldron of voices. Then, the ice under Lu Ping's feet began to slowly close up, as if no one had been here before. In the ice cave, as Lu Ping moved forward, the blue light in his hands grew brighter and brighter. The ice wall in front of him also began to crack diagonally downwards. Lu Ping shook the spirit beast pouch on his waist, and a big fat rat sneakily appeared behind Lu Ping. However, it immediately shivered due to the bone-chilling cold in the ice cave. Seeing that Debeo was so weak, Lu Ping could only shake his head. He stretched out his hand and flicked out a flame. The flame floated above Debeo's head, and a warm aura instantly filled the ice cave. The surrounding ice showed faint signs of melting. With the protection of the flame, Debeo immediately became spirited, and his previous quick-wittedness returned. Without waiting for Lu Ping's instructions, he began to jump up and down the ice cave that Lu Ping had opened up in an attempt to discover something. As Lu Ping ventured deeper into the ice layer, the ice that had accumulated for thousands of years began to emit a faint blue light. It gradually condensed into spiritual materials similar to the ice jade that could be used to forge magic tools. However, most of these spiritual materials were not of high quality, and they could only be used to forge magic tools of low grade. Moreover, they were extremely rare, so Lu Ping was too lazy to collect them. Thus, all of them fell into Debeo's hands. Lu Ping tied a storage pouch around Debeo's neck, allowing him to collect whatever he wanted. Debeo was now a late blood condensation realm demonic beast. Furthermore, he was extremely stingy. As long as he saw something that emitted spiritual energy, he would put it into his storage pouch regardless of whether it was useful or not. Therefore, the storage pouch that Lu Ping gave to Debeo was a very expensive one. At this time, Lu Ping had already ventured nearly 300 feet into the ice layer. It was getting increasingly difficult to continue digging the ice cave. Even though Lu Ping's cultivation was far superior to other cultivators in the same realm, and he cultivated a water attribute cultivation technique, the consumption of his true essence still left Lu Ping feeling exhausted. However, the deeper the layer of ice was, the more ancient it was. After accumulating for many years, many layers of ice had mutated and began to condense into various ice-attributed spiritual materials such as icy jade, icy crystal, icy steel, icy stone, icy liquid, and so on. Their quality was also getting higher and higher. Some spiritual materials could not only be used to refine mid-grade magic tools, but also high-grade magic tools. When Lu Ping was 40 feet deep into the ice layer, Debeo had also changed his previous attitude of not caring about the good and the bad. Instead, he became more proactive.
From time to time, with Lu Ping's help, he would dig out pieces of crystal-clear ice stones and ice diamond-like spiritual materials. Although these spiritual materials were scattered everywhere, their density was much better than the shallow ice layer. At least for a blood condensation realm cultivator, such a harvest was already a windfall. However, for a blood condensation realm cultivator like Lu Ping, these spiritual materials were not even as valuable as a heaven and earth spirit item. Lu Ping was shocked. Since large spirit stone veins had been discovered in this place, and there was also the existence of a middle-grade spirit vein, then after tens of thousands of years of being covered in ice and snow, the accumulated spiritual energy would not be able to dissipate and would accumulate in the ice and snow. This would definitely cause the ice and snow to mutate and produce many ice-attributed spiritual materials. The reason why Taoist Master Xian Wei and the other cultivators who were proficient in mineral veins still gathered at the bottom of the ice cliff even though they had confirmed the existence of a large spirit stone vein was obviously because other than the spirit stone vein, there was also a spirit stone vein of various ice-attributed spiritual materials. At this moment, the cultivators from the various sects had temporarily put aside the matter of the spirit stone vein and waited for the Fa Xiang Laozu to come and discuss it. Then, they focused all their attention on the mutated ice-attributed spiritual material vein at the bottom of the ice cliff. Because it was a companion, it was difficult for the various sects to determine its value. Perhaps it was only the smallest branch of the ice vein, but the quality of the spiritual material contained in it could be a second-grade mutated spiritual material that could be used to refine magic weapons, and the vein that produced the most ores could only be used to refine some low-grade magic weapons. Although Lu Ping was going all the way down in the ice layer, under Debeo's urging, he had already deviated from his original track. His direction was still diagonally downward, but he had already made several turns. Seeing Debeo jumping up and down to collect more and more spiritual materials into the storage pouch on his neck, Lu Ping finally realized that under Debeo's lead, he seemed to have opened up the ice cave above an ice-attributed spiritual material vein, and the formation of this kind of pure ice-attributed spiritual material vein depended more on the underground spirit stone vein and the accumulation of nourishment over the years. In order to deliberately avoid other people's detection, Lu Ping came to the edge of Frost Island, which was very far from the bottom of the ice cliff, to investigate.
Lu Ping was surprised at first, and then as if he had found some treasure, he showed a happy expression and said, "It's actually mystical ice fiend." Lu Ping's body shook, and a blue protective aura spread out around Lu Ping, blocking the black mystical ice fiend outside of the water curtain true aura. A layer of black mystical ice quickly covered Lu Ping's protective aura, forming a huge black ice ball. After the black mystical ice fiend was spat out, the ice cave behind Lu Ping, which seemed to be on the verge of collapsing, suddenly stopped. At the same time, after the mystical ice fiend swept through the cracks, it immediately solidified again, and was even stronger than before. The mystic ice fiend was an extraordinary item that was stronger than the frost true water that Lu Ping had seen before. Although both were pure ice attribute extraordinary items, the difference was that the frost true water was in the form of a liquid, while the mystic ice fiend was in the form of a black mist. Both of them didn't appear in the form of ice. Chapter 400. Lu Ping, who was frozen into a black ice ball by the obsidian ice fiend, carefully felt the power of the obsidian ice fiend trying to invade his Xin Yuan through the protective Gang Qi. The faint bone-piercing chill surprised Lu Ping. It was indeed a heaven and earth mysterious object that was more powerful than the true ice water. If it was used by a cultivator who practiced ice attribute incantations to condense the protective Gang Qi, the Gang Qi formed would not be inferior to the myriad poison meteorite evil Qi that Lu Ping used before. Lu Ping's mind stirred and a surge of blue true essence suddenly vibrated on the protective aura barrier. The black ice ball that was as hard as a 1,000-year-old ice ball instantly shattered into pieces. It was a pity that Lu Ping could not use this good obsidian ice fiend to fuse with the 6th layer of protective Gang Qi because of his cultivation method. However, Lu Ping took out the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash. The only ice attribute heaven and earth mysterious object collected in the Thunder Calabash was a white ice mist. If it was added with the obsidian ice fiend, its power would naturally be better. Looking at the wisps of black mist spewing out from the ice wall in front of him, Lu Ping made up his mind and wrapped himself in the water curtain true aura again. With a slash of the golden scale sword, the thick obsidian ice fiend surged toward Lu Ping like a torrent bursting out of a dam. Even though Lu Ping had a clear understanding of the obsidian ice fiend before, such a thick obsidian ice fiend still made Lu Ping's face change slightly. He stretched out his hand and pointed backward. An ice wall suddenly appeared in the ice tunnel that Lu Ping had opened up. While sealing the tunnel, it also sealed the obsidian ice fiend and Lu Ping himself in this small space. Lu Ping's face was solemn. The 7 treasures Thunder Calabash was suspended in front of him. As soon as the mouth of the calabash was opened, a strange suction force continuously attracted the surrounding obsidian ice fiend into the Thunder Calabash. As the lightning gourd absorbed more and more black ice fiend, the originally golden gourd itself seemed to be stained with a layer of faint black crystal color. The 7 treasures Thunder Calabash didn't just need to absorb the heaven and earth treasures to immediately increase its power. It also needed Lu Ping to nurture it with his true essence. Only then would the Thunder Calabash be able to fuse with the heaven and earth treasures. Originally, Lu Ping didn't care about the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash. Although it was stored in his core space because of its preciousness, but because of the existence of the Gentian bead, Lu Ping didn't have any extra true essence to nurture the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash. Lu Ping picked up the black ice in his hand and squeezed it hard. Only then did he realize that the texture of this black ice fiend was actually so hard. Just now, when Lu Ping discovered the situation of the black ice fiend, because of the joy in his heart, he did not pay attention to this when he split the black ice ball with his sword. A green light flashed in Lu Ping's eyes. The corner of his mouth suddenly revealed a joyful expression, and then he chuckled lightly. This black ice was actually a variant spiritual material. What did a top-grade variant spiritual material mean? The black ice fiend was a heaven and earth oddity. Naturally, it could not cause a top-grade spiritual material to mutate. Then the only reason why such a big black ice ball could become a second-grade variant spiritual material was because there was an ice attribute heaven and earth spirit object here. Heaven and earth oddity. Lu Ping split the whole black ice ball into pieces, and then carefully examined the broken black ice. Finally, he found a piece that looked exactly the same as the other 1,000-year black ice. Cold ice essence, it really was this kind of thing. As expected, Lu Ping smiled. Then, he took out a jade essence box and put this mystic middle-grade heaven and earth spirit object into it. Then, his finger drew a series of complicated patterns in the air, and blue true yuan condensed into a talisman in the air. Condensing talisman in the air. Lu Ping casually patted the jade essence box, and the spirit sealing talisman formed by true yuan was imprinted on the jade essence box. As for the broken 1,000-year black ice ball, Lu Ping thought about it and decided to keep it all. If he kept it, it would inevitably let people know that he had obtained a heaven and earth spirit object. With Lu Ping's current status, if he was not willing to hand it over, the sect naturally would not force him. But in the end, it was better to avoid trouble. Just as Lu Ping was about to continue exploring the ice layer, suddenly, there was a burst of rumbling sound. Lu Ping was startled. At this time, Lu Ping was dozens of feet deep at the bottom of the ice layer, and his divine sense was greatly restricted. Naturally, he did not know what was happening. But from the cracks on the ice walls on both sides of the ice tunnel that Lu Ping had opened up, it was obvious that the power of the vibration was extremely strong. If it was not an earthquake, then it was a battle between high-level cultivators. Thinking of this, Lu Ping did not have the mood to search for treasures anymore. In any case, he was the only one who had discovered this place. Now, He could only wait for the sect's Fa Xiang, Laozu, to come and then find time to explore. Lu Ping returned to the ice wall that was used to seal the Black Ice Fiend. Then, with a wave of his hands, the Black Ice Fiend at the bottom of the ice tunnel was immediately pushed back dozens of feet by Lu Ping. Lu Ping seized the opportunity and sealed another ice wall in front of him, blocking the Black Ice Fiend inside. Then, he shattered the ice wall behind him, turned around, and returned through the ice tunnel. When Lu Ping jumped out of the ice surface, he realized that the entire Frost Island was already immersed in the deafening roars of spells. The entire Frost Island seemed to be shaking, and a small snowy mountain not far away even had an avalanche. The spirit energy floating in the air was vibrating intensely. This was not a simple battle between high-level cultivators. This was a chaotic battle between a group of high-level cultivators. Lu Ping was shocked. Although there were countless questions in his mind, he did not have the time to think too much at this moment. A blue light flashed under his feet, and the escape technique that was fused with the art of sea deception was activated. It seemed as if countless figures of Lu Ping suddenly appeared in the sky. As the figures gradually faded, Lu Ping had already disappeared without a trace. At this moment, the bottom of the ice cliff had become the battlefield of the 10 great sects of the North Sea. When Lu Ping arrived, he saw that Jinling's side seemed to be suffering from the joint attack of Xian Ling's sect, Shui Yen Pavilion, and Hai Yen sect. At the deeper side of the ice cliff, Spiritual Master Xian Sun and 10 other late-stage core forging cultivators seemed to be in a confrontation. Although Lu Ping was puzzled as to why his sect would be jointly attacked by Xian Ling's sect, Shui Yen Pavilion, and Hai Yen sect, he did not have the time to think too much at this moment. The golden scale sword swept across the sky, and Lu Ping attacked with all his strength. The true origin sword art was like a huge golden sword that reached the sky, slashing towards the people in the middle of the chaotic battle. The power of Lu Ping's sword strike with all his strength was unimaginable among cultivators of the same level. Even the 10 late-stage core forging cultivators who were in a confrontation changed their expressions when they saw this sword strike. No! This is bad. Stop! For a moment, whether it was the people in the middle of the chaotic battle or the cultivators in a confrontation, whether it was the cultivators from Jinling's side or the cultivators from the other side, all of them shouted loudly at Lu Ping. However, it was already too late. Seeing the sword light slashing down from the sky, no one in the chaotic battle made a move to stop it, and all of them dodged to the side. The sword light instantly sank into the ice and snow at the bottom of the cliff, and only a loud explosion was heard. It was as if Lu Ping's sword had cut something into pieces. Then, several rays of light rushed out from the ice and flew towards the surroundings of Frost Island. If this continued, wouldn't the golden scale sword be snatched away by the person in front of him? A late-stage core forging cultivator was indeed powerful. Just a casual attack had such power. However, at this moment, Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan was even more surprised than Lu Ping. She didn't expect that this Jinling cultivator in front of her would actually have such tyrannical swordsmanship. This Shuiyan Musha was a spiritual magic treasure that Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan had meticulously refined. It was the best at both offense and defense and was good at snatching other people's magic treasures. She didn't expect that the sword of this Jinling cultivator in front of her would actually be so powerful. She faintly felt that she wouldn't be able to block it. How was this possible? The Shuiyan Musha wasn't pierced through, so it could continuously weaken the magic treasures that were attacking it. If it was pierced through, this spiritual magic treasure would become useless. Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan was finally blocked by Lu Ping's sword. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of white mist towards the Shuiyan Musha. The Shuiyan Musha, which was swaying and dancing around the golden scale sword, was suddenly covered with a faint layer of white mist. Lu Ping took advantage of the moment when Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan was blocked by the golden scale sword to catch the oncoming treasure light in his hand. Only then did he feel a feeling of true essence being frozen coming from the golden scale sword. When he looked up, he saw that the Shuiyan Musha that was wrapped around the golden scale sword was covered with a thin layer of white mist. An icy cold chi was being emitted from the white mist. Not only was the true essence on the golden scale sword frozen, but it also seemed like the divine sense that was connected to the golden scale sword was also frozen. Lu Ping's expression changed slightly. He suddenly stretched out his finger and made a slash in the air. Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan exclaimed in surprise. Her figure flashed and disappeared. A faint blue sword light pierced through the air where she was just standing. Lu Ping took advantage of this opportunity to use the golden scale sword to break free from the Shuiyan Musha. In the air more than 10 feet away from Lu Ping, Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan reappeared. She looked at Lu Ping and said, "You are Jinling's Lu Xianping?" Lu Ping didn't answer. When the nether water sword stabbed forward, he stretched out his hand and pressed it in the air. The seemingly soft Shuiyan Musha suddenly shook violently, as if something was about to break out of it. Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan's expression changed. She was about to block it, but it was already too late. Although the golden scale sword didn't pierce through the Shuiyan Musha, Lu Ping managed to break free with the support of his vigorous true essence. Lu Ping secretly thought that it was a close call. There was a huge gap between a late-core forging cultivator and a mid-core forging cultivator. If it was any other cultivator, Lu Ping's spiritual flying sword would have been taken away by Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan. Lu Ping had just put away the golden scale sword when Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan attacked again. Lu Ping unexpectedly saw a faint trace of excitement on this spiritual master's face. Lu Ping didn't know that his reputation in the North Sea had become so great that people considered him the most outstanding cultivator of the younger generation of Jinling. He was Jinling's most likely disciple to reach the Dharma phase in the future. In the eyes of the cultivators of the other sects, Lu Ping had become a potential threat to the status of the other sects in the future. They had to get rid of him as soon as possible. After Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan confirmed that the person in front of him was Lu Ping, he had made up his mind to eliminate Jinling, the future Dharma phase Laozu, as a potential threat. Lu Ping had just fought with Spiritual Master Shui Wuhuan for a short while. He had already realized that his current strength wasn't enough to compete with the senior late-core forging cultivators of the various sections. So, after obtaining the treasure, he flew towards the area where Jinling's group was located. For a moment, the entire sky above the Frost Island changed. Fa Xiang Laozu had arrived. Daoist Xiansen was overjoyed. However, he momentarily forgot why there were 12 Laozu and not 10 Laozu. As expected, an enormous and violent thought actually formed a tsunami-like purple wave in the sky. It charged towards Daoist Shui Wuhuan, who was about to attack Lu Ping. Divine Sense manifestation was different from the 4 serpents that appeared on the surface of Lu Ping's golden core when his Divine Sense was fused with it. This Divine Sense manifestation was able to directly affect the Divine Sense outside of his body. This was his teacher. Lu Tianling Laozu had arrived. Daoist Shui Wuhuan was actually sent flying by Lu Tianling Laozu's Divine Sense attack. What kind of strength was this? Could it be that the gap between a late-stage core forging cultivator and Fa Xiang Laozu was this big? Under the shocked gazes of all the core forging cultivators present, including Lu Ping, Daoist Shui Wuhuan, who was still flying in the air, directly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned purple and a layer of tiny ice crystals actually formed on his exposed skin. Lu Tianling, how dare you! Before the furious roar had finished, Lu Tianling Laozu's usually graceful voice came over unhurriedly, "What, you don't accept it?" Lu Ping was dumbfounded at this moment. He couldn't imagine what kind of expression his usually elegant teacher would have when he said such a thing. No one present noticed that Daoist Shui Wuhuan, who was about to fall to the ground, had already been caught by a white-haired, youthful-looking cultivator. Immediately after, a purple pill was stuffed into Daoist Shui Wuhuan's mouth. The cultivator handed Daoist Shui Wuhuan to the Mistwater Pavilion cultivator behind him. He then said to Lu Ping in a cold voice, "You broke her great ability?" A door suddenly appeared next to Lu Ping. Then, Lu Tianling Laozu leisurely walked out of the door. He didn't even look at Mistwater Pavilion's Laozu. He said indifferently, "Crippling her is crippling. I didn't destroy her cultivation. She can just cultivate again." Lu Ping hurriedly bowed to his teacher. Then, he heard Mistwater Pavilion's Laozu say fiercely, "Just for this mid-core forging minor repairs, you seriously injured a late-core forging cultivator from our sect. Aren't you afraid of provoking a war between the two sects? Now that the humans and demons are at war, do you Jinling cultivators still have the slightest sense of the big picture? Oh, you want to provoke a war between the two sects just for a fight between two core forging minor repairs? As the Mistwater Pavilion's Fa Xiang Laozu, do you still have the slightest sense of the big picture?" You, Mistwater Pavilion's Laozu glared at Lu Tianling, but Laozu was momentarily speechless. In the eyes of Fa Xiang Laozu, a mid-core forging cultivator was insignificant minor repairs. What about a late-core forging cultivator? Lu Tianling Laozu reached out and brushed Lu Ping's body. A true essence that came from the same source as Lu Ping's North Sea Wave listening spell, but was far purer and more vigorous than Lu Ping's. With the help of Lu Tianling Laozu's brush, Lu Ping's injuries quickly healed. Lu Tianling Laozu only cultivated one part of the North Sea Wave listening spell, which was the North Sea Wave listening spell. His true essence was far purer and more vigorous than Lu Ping's, but it lacked a trace of explosiveness. Only when Lu Ping cultivated both at the same time could he achieve both. With his teacher's help, Lu Ping suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood with ice crystals on it. His originally purple face became deathly pale, but his spirit was refreshed. The true essence that was originally circulating in his body due to his serious injuries began to circulate rapidly, once again speeding up the recovery of his injuries. Lu Tianling Laozu looked at his disciple with some surprise. Clearly, through that brush just now, he had noticed something different about Lu Ping's cultivation. At this time, another Laozu flew through the air and said, "You can't say that. This is, after all, a matter between disciples. For us Dharma Ascension cultivators to interfere in a fight between disciples, it is more or less like bullying the weak. This is also inconsistent with the rules of the cultivation world." Lu Ping saw that the person who came was wearing a green cultivator's robe, the cultivators of the Sea Flame sect. Following this person's arrival, the cultivators of the Sea Flame sect all rushed over to greet him. Lu Tianling Laozu sneered and said, "Speaking of which, I'm really sorry for junior sister Shui Wuhuan. I think that junior sister Shui just wants to teach this useless disciple a lesson on behalf of me, as his teacher. I think that in the eyes of martial uncle Zhangli of the Sea Flame sect, junior sister Shui would never do something like bullying the weak." Zhangli Laozu of the Sea Flame sect smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything else. For a moment, he had forgotten that this Lu Tianling Laozu in front of him was actually one generation younger than him. He also didn't expect that Lu Ping was actually Lu Tianling Laozu's disciple, another generation younger than Shui Wuhuan. Also, whether Shui Wuhuan wanted to kill Lu Ping was something that all the Laozu saw clearly when they first arrived on Frost Island. Zhangli Laozu naturally wouldn't lie about this, but now, Zhangli Laozu's words were really a slap to his own face. Thinking about the fact that two of Jinling's second-generation disciples had already reached the Dharma Ascension stage, and it was said that 3 of them had already condensed a 7th-grade golden core, Zhangli Laozu sighed inwardly. Otherwise, given fellow Daoist Sword Craze's level of attainment, he would not have been so powerless. Sage Enigma Flame was not the only one who felt that it was a pity. The other core forging stage cultivators in the encampment also felt that it was a pity. The cultivation world of the Middle Lands had always been a place that cultivators from all over the world yearned to go to. The North Sea had been isolated from the Middle Lands for a long period of time. If cultivators from the North Sea wished to enter the Middle Lands, they would often have to go to the East Sea and then use the teleportation array to reach the Middle Lands. Even in the East Sea, such long-distance teleportation arrays were only in the hands of a few great sections. Outsiders would have to pay a hefty price to use them. Lu Tianling Laozu saw the pained expressions on everyone's faces and said coldly, "Since this group of ice Azuras came to Frost Island from either the Middle Lands or the Northern Ice Plains about a decade ago, it is likely that the Azura clan has long since appeared in either the Middle Lands or the Northern Ice Plains. If that is the case, the cultivation world of the Middle Lands is probably not peaceful right now. It may not be a good thing for them to go there." Only then did everyone realize that Azuras usually appeared in groups or tribes. Their appearance would cause a huge storm for the cultivation world. It would appear that the cultivation world of the Middle Lands was not peaceful right now. 2 days later, Lu Ping's injuries were no longer a problem. After a round of haggling between the various sects and Laozu, they finally decided on the distribution of the large spirit or vein at the bottom of the ice mountain. Including the spirit material mine discovered at the bottom of the ice mountain, Jinling and Xianling sect took 2.5 of the share, Shuiyan Pavilion and Haiyan sect took 1.5, the other 6 sects took 3.5, and the remaining 10 sects and families of the North Sea that had a Transcendence Laozu overseeing them took the remaining 3.5. When the news came, not only were the core forging cultivators of Jinling dissatisfied, even the cultivators of the other sects were quite dissatisfied. The excavation of the spirit or vein on Frost Island was managed by the 10 great sects of the North Sea, and the other forces did nothing but meddle in it. How could they be satisfied with getting 3.5 for free? Since when did the 10 great sects of the North Sea need to make such concessions to the other forces? However, the dissatisfaction of the sects was forcefully suppressed by Laozu of his own sect. Then, the news came again, the 10 great sects' share was fixed, and the remaining 30% would change according to the changes in the situation of the North Sea's cultivation world. In other words, this 30% was for all the forces in the North Sea that had Dharma Laozu guarding them, excluding the 10 great sections. When these 10 forces lost the protection of Dharma Laozu, they would lose their share of the spirit or vein on Frost Island, and it would be divided among the 10 great sections. When another Dharma Laozu was born in the North Sea, that force would automatically obtain a share of the spirit or vein on Frost Island. When there were more than 10 forces in the North Sea that had Dharma Laozu, the 30% share would still remain the same, and each force would divide it equally. It could be imagined that after the discovery of the spirit or vein on Frost Island, the barren situation of the North Sea's cultivation world would improve to a certain extent, and the possibility of Dharma Laozu appearing would greatly increase. The 10 great sects occupied the dominant position of the North Sea's cultivation world, but the North Sea's cultivation world was so vast that the chance of Dharma Laozu appearing was higher than that of the 10 great sections. Under these circumstances, the 10 great sects would have the privilege of occupying 70% of the spirit or vein's profits. In the long run, they would not lose out. Moreover, the 10 great sects had no choice but to make some concessions in order to unite the North Sea's cultivation world. The originally pale and almost transparent skin suddenly turned blue-black. The Azura looked at Lu Ping with a ferocious expression, his face full of madness. Lu Ping had a bad feeling. A golden light flashed in his hand, and he pierced the Azura's heart. The Azura's face showed unwillingness, and just as the blue-black skin started to fade, the Azura's entire body exploded. Lu Ping was already prepared. He had already put his hands together, and a blue Jin Yuan shield had already covered the Azura's body. A muffled sound came, and the power of the Azura's body exploding shook the entire Jin Yuan shield. Lu Ping's body also swayed a few times, but he finally stabilized the Jin Yuan shield. Lu Ping removed the true essence barrier, and a gust of chilly air filled the ice tunnel with the smell of blood. Then, the chilly air was absorbed by the surrounding ice, disappearing without a trace. Due to the previous explosion of the Azura, the Jin Yuan in his body shook, and the impact of this cold air, Lu Ping could not help but cough again and again. Fortunately, Lu Ping reacted in time and killed the Azura before it exploded. Otherwise, even if Lu Ping could survive the explosion, he was afraid that such a powerful explosion would attract the cultivators of various sects to come and investigate. The spiritual material vein that Lu Ping found, and even the spiritual vein that might exist underground, might not belong to Lu Ping. Even so, after the explosion of the Azura's body, although the power was greatly reduced, it might still arouse the vigilance of other cultivators. After all, there were now 12 Dharma Laozu on the island. In desperation, Lu Ping had to use his own Jin Yuan and Gang Qi to form a huge Jin Yuan shield, covering the entire body of the Azura, so only a muffled sound came out. At this time, the Azura's body had exploded into pieces, but it had turned into pieces of ice on the ground. Lu Ping found the icicle-like dagger in the Azura's hand. Only then did he find that the icicle was actually a second-class spiritual material. When Lu Ping was attacked, he could clearly feel that the power of the ice blade in the Azura's hand was not less than an ordinary magic weapon. Could it be that the Azura could make the spiritual material directly have the power of a magic weapon? Lu Ping was dumbfounded. He scratched the broken ice on the ground. Seeing that he didn't find anything, he walked back to the bottom of the tunnel and prepared to open the tunnel. At this time, Lu Ping was only 3 to 5 meters away from the ground. De Bayo didn't care about the various spiritual materials that appeared on the surrounding ice walls during the excavation process. He just stood beside Lu Ping and watched Lu Ping cast spells to extend the tunnel to the ground. Kacha, as the last layer of hard ice shattered in front of Lu Ping, it revealed the brown ground. A rich spiritual energy rushed toward Lu Ping and De Bayo. Sure enough, there was a spiritual vein, and it was a small spiritual vein. Without Lu Ping's command, De Bayo had already plunged into the brown ground. Lu Ping continued to cast spells, continuing to expand the tunnel here into an ice room. Because the ice had been accumulated for thousands or even tens of thousands of years, the ice room that Lu Ping opened up was a bit too much even for his strong qi. However, in the process of opening up the ice room, he found a lot of spiritual materials. Although most of them were low-grade spiritual materials, Lu Ping piled them together. When De Bayo came out of the ground, he would naturally put these things away. However, when Lu Ping finished opening up the ice room, De Bayo still hadn't come out of the ground. Lu Ping couldn't help but worry. He walked to the place where De Bayo had plunged into the ground, stretched out his palm and patted the ground. A blue light penetrated the ground along with his palm. After a while, De Bayo really jumped out of the ground. Lu Ping saw that De Bayo's eyes were shining brightly. The other party didn't even look at the spiritual materials in the ice room, and quickly ran toward Lu Ping. A burst of squeak squeak, it was obvious that it was unusually excited. Lu Ping looked happy. He saw De Bayo take out 2 miniature spirit-gathering pearls from the storage bag under his neck. Lu Ping smiled and patted De Bayo's head as a compliment. De Bayo shouted twice and continued to take out things from the storage bag. Lu Ping was also a little surprised. Could it be that De Bayo had found some treasures underground? Then Lu Ping looked at the things that De Bayo had taken out again and was a little surprised. 5 high-grade spirit stones were placed neatly on the ground. Upper-grade spirit stones, what did it mean? It meant that there was not only a small spiritual vein here, but also a medium spiritual mine. Medium spiritual mine? How was that possible? Even Lu Ping was in disbelief, but the spirit stones on the ground told Lu Ping that this was indeed a medium spiritual mine. Because to be able to produce upper-grade spirit stones, it had to be at least a medium spiritual vein. The small spiritual vein earlier proved that if there was a spiritual mine underground, then it was either a small or medium spiritual mine. Now, it was obvious that this was a medium spiritual mine without a doubt. Lu Ping spent a lot of effort to calm his turbulent heart. Lu Ping calmed down and thought for a moment. The most important thing now was to protect the secret of this medium spiritual mine, then inform Master about this place and think of a way to monopolize this medium spiritual mine. Monopolizing a medium spiritual mine. In the North Sea, only Xian Ling's sect had a medium spiritual mind. If Zhenling could do the same, then it was only a matter of time before Lu Ping surpassed Xian Ling's sect to become the #1 sect in the North Sea. Chapter 406. Lu Tianling, don't push your luck. I may have lost to you last time, but you, Zhenling, have gained a lot of advantages on Frost Island. Do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Inside a palace of ice and snow at the bottom of the cliff, 12 Laozus from various sects and families sat in a circle. Surrounding them were the late core forging practitioners from various sections. At this moment, they were all watching the 12 Laozus bickering with each other with their mouths wide open. What made them even more dumbfounded was what Xian Ling's sect's Feng Shutao Laozu had said in a fit of anger. Feng Shutao Laozu actually lost to Lu Tianling. When did this happen? This was a huge event that shook the entire North Sea cultivation world. Not only were the late core forging cultivators of the various sects shocked, but even the Dharma adepts sitting next to the two of them were also shocked. Feng Shutao was really unlucky. Losing to Jiang Tianlin was one thing, but now he lost to Lu Tianling as well. He couldn't even beat one of the couple. But when did this Lu Tianling become so powerful? Back in the days of the North Sea cultivation world, Jiang Tianlin and Feng Shutao were known as the North Sea twins. Although Lu Tianling was also famous, compared to the two of them, there was still a gap. Jiang Tianlin defeating Feng Shutao after advancing to the Dharma stage was one thing, but Lu Tianling's rapid advancement to the Dharma stage had already shocked the sects of the North Sea. At the same time, they secretly hoped that Lu Tianling hadn't advanced to the Dharma stage with a high golden core. However, all that hope seemed to have been shattered now. Although Feng Shuzhao had only formed a 7th grade golden elixir back then, he had accumulated enough experience and had merged with 2 low-grade heaven-level spirit items. Therefore, after he had advanced to the Dharma stage, his abilities had even surpassed many early Dharma adepts, but he had still lost to Lu Tianling. How could this be? What was she hiding? Or rather, what was Zhenling hiding? At this moment, all the Laozus looked at Lu Tianling with probing gazes. At the same time, other than feeling as surprised as the other core forging cultivators, the 2 late-stage core forging cultivators of Xian Ling's sect seemed to have come to a sudden realization. Senior brother Feng Shutiao had been in an extremely bad mood ever since he arrived at Frost Island. He would scold the disciples of his sect for no reason at all. Lu Tianling and Laozu looked at the surrounding Laozus with a hint of a common enemy. They knew that Feng Shutao was willing to expose his own weakness to temporarily isolate Zhenling. Jiang Tianlin and Lu Tianling's strength had already caused the sects of the North Sea to be jealous and on guard. As expected, Zhangli Laozu from Shuiyan Pavilion was the first to speak. Brother Feng is right. Not only did you, Zhenling, occupy the only small spirit mine on Frost Island, but the most precious ice illusion stone is also in Brother Lu's hands. This frost jade spring is the most extraordinary item found in this mine, enough for more than 20 water element practitioners to use to condense their protective chi. It's a bit unreasonable that your sect still occupied 5 spots. As soon as Zhangli Laozu finished speaking, Xian Ling sect's Laozus and Ocean Flame sect's Laozus also agreed. The 2 Laozus representing the other sects and families of the North Sea sat on the side without saying anything. Obviously, they didn't want to participate in the conflict between the top 10 sections. Lu Tianling Laozu pondered for a moment and said, "Fine. This time, I, Zhenling, will give up 4 spots to condense their qi. However, 2 of these spots must be given to Chongming's sect. Chongming, Songlang, Jade Sword, and the cultivators of my sect must first use this frost jade spring to condense their qi. Otherwise, there's no need to discuss this matter." Lu Tianling's forcefulness was well known in the North Sea. Originally, Feng Shutao thought that even if he pulled all the sect's Laozus to his side, it would still take a lot of bargaining before he could force Zhenling to give in. For this, Feng Shutao didn't hesitate to tell everyone about how he lost to Lu Tianling. He didn't think that Lu Tianling would agree to this matter so easily. This made Feng Shutao feel like vomiting blood. Fortunately, Zhenling's sect had finally made a concession. The remaining 2 spots were given to Hai Yen's sect and Songhai sect respectively. After all, both sects had lost a mid-core forging realm cultivator to Ice Azura. This could be considered as making up for the losses of the 2 sections. As for Zhenling's request to condense the Frost Jade Spring first, the sect's Laozu didn't care. This time, the newly discovered Frost Jade Spring had a lot of Frost Jade Spring. It was likely that there would still be some left after the allocation of spots. Only Chongming's sect's Laozu was also excited. Last time, Zhenling's group obtained 3 treasures. Aside from the Ice Illusion Stone, which went to Zhenling, Jade Sword sect and Songlang's sect each obtained a natural oddity. Only Chongming's sect didn't get a single one. This time, Lu Tianling and Laozu took the initiative to give 2 spots to Chongming's sect as compensation for their previous losses. Apart from Zhenling, the other sects' faces were full of joy. However, spiritual master Feng Shuzhao didn't feel happy at all. He faintly felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what it was, so he gave up. Lu Ping pondered for a while in his own ice room. Only then did he realize that a day had passed. If he didn't go back now, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. So, he left De Bao in the ice room and ordered him to only dig high-grade spirit stones. Seeing that it was Lu Ping, the cultivators guarding the ice spring did not mind. But a moment later, the cultivators panicked. This was not refining the Gang Qi bit by bit, it was simply swallowing it whole. The ice spring was shrinking at an obvious speed. Several cultivators hurriedly reported this matter to Laozu from their respective sections. Only then did Laozu realize that they had fallen into Lu Tianling's trap. Feng Shutao even crushed a teacup made from a top-grade magic artifact into a pile of scrap. However, Lu Ping's tyrannical ability to fuse with his protective astral energy also greatly surprised Laozu. With this level of smelting, his protective astral energy was most likely not inferior to a defensive spirit-type magic treasure. Above the frozen spring, Lu Ping quietly floated. 5 layers of protective astral energy spread out layer by layer. The icy spring water under his feet was slowly absorbed by the protective astral energy. The outermost layer slowly formed a thin layer of cold silver astral energy. This was the 6th layer of protective astral energy. With the formation of the 6th layer of protective astral energy, the frozen spring under Lu Ping's feet rapidly shrank. Presumably, the cultivators of the various sects were regretting it to death, Lu Ping thought gloatingly. Lu Ping's smelting of astral energy took an entire day. The amount of frozen spring Lu Ping absorbed was 4 times that of an ordinary cultivator. Adding the amount of frozen spring refined by Chongming and the other 2 sects, Zhenling's side had actually consumed half of the frozen spring. The cultivators of the various sects who came later looked at the frozen spring in front of them and wanted to cry. Especially Hai Yen sect and Songhai sect, because they had obtained 2 spots from Zhenling, they were the last in line. But looking at the remaining half of the frozen spring, when it was their turn, how much spring water would be left? In desperation, after an emergency discussion, the remaining 6 sects could only let the cultivators of each sect take turns to smelt their astral energy. In the end, Xianling's sect, who originally had 5 spots, only managed to smelt 4 people, Hai Yen sect's 4 spots, and Songhai sect's 3 spots, only managed to smelt 2. Hai Yen sect and Songhai sect did not take advantage of Zhenling at all, and Xianling's sect even lost a spot. This made Feng Shutao very angry, but there was nothing he could do. Just as the disciples of each sect finished smelting the frozen spring, the large spirit mine at the bottom of the ice cliff also officially started mining. At the same time, Zhenling's Lu Tianling, Laozu, moved his sect's encampment to a small mountain on the outskirts of Frost Island. It was said that they found a small spirit vein there, which made all the sects curse Zhenling's luck again. Chapter 407. After millions of years of brewing, the inaccessible Frost Island had become a veritable treasure island. It had brought more and more surprises to the 10 great sections. After Jinling found another small spirit vein in the outskirts of Frost Island, another piece of news came. Jinling had unearthed a small ice attribute spirit material mine in the layer of ice behind the small spirit vein. Of course, Jinling was not the only one who had found something. The other 9 great sects had also made some surprising discoveries during their exploration of Frost Island, especially the Water Mist Pavilion. The Water Mist Pavilion's cultivation method was unique in the North Sea. Most of the cultivators in the sect cultivated water and ice attribute arts. Some of the cultivators who cultivated ice attribute arts had some unique divine arts that were suitable to be used in the environment of Frost Island. They were very useful in searching for treasures hidden in the layer of ice on Frost Island. Therefore, although the Water Mist Pavilion didn't find a spirit vein like Jinling's sect did, they did find a spirit material mine. There was even news that the Water Mist Pavilion found an ice lake from tens of millions of years ago under a layer of ice in a region of Frost Island, and they obtained an Earth-rank spirit item of the ice attribute from it. Although the various sects did not know what the Water Mist Pavilion had obtained, when they saw the smiling face of the Water Mist Pavilion's Zhangli Laozu, no longer having the gloominess from Shui Wuhuan's matter, many cultivators secretly guessed that the Water Mist Pavilion had obtained a high-grade Earth-ranked natural treasure. When Spiritual Master Xian Sun and Spiritual Master Enigma Flame followed Lu Tianling and Laozu down the icy tunnel under Lu Ping's lead, they arrived at the space where Lu Ping had sealed the profound ice fiend. Spiritual Master Xian Sun looked at the thick black mist in front of him and couldn't help but let out a chuckle. He said happily, "This thick profound ice fiend is enough for 7 or 8 of our sect's ice attribute disciples to condense protective energy. Moreover, this profound ice fiend is one of the best ice attribute natural treasures that can be used to condense protective energy. This time, many of our sect's disciples will owe you a favor." Through Chen Lian, Sage Enigma Flame had more or less gained some understanding of Lu Ping. Hearing Sage Xian Sen, who was famous within the sect for his honesty, praising Lu Ping, Sage Enigma Flame involuntarily pursed his lips and thought to himself, to think that this kid could discover such a remote place. Who knows how big of a scheme is hidden here? Judging by the looks of it, this tunnel is not newly opened. This kid must have taken quite a lot of the benefits inside. He probably felt that there were too many benefits for him to take alone. That is why he reported it to the sect. There really is a mid-grade spirit mine here. This time, the heavens have truly blessed our sect. Our Jinling sect will be able to occupy a mid-grade spirit mine by ourselves. Sage Enigma Flame and Sage Enigma Flame were overjoyed when they heard that. They said, "Is that true?" This news is no less than the discovery of a large-grade spirit mine on Frost Island. This mid-grade spirit mine must be kept a secret. Our sect must monopolize it and not give other sects any chance, just like how Xian Ling's sect occupied the spirit mine on Giant Spirit Island back then. When Sage Enigma Flame saw that the 2 seniors of his sect seemed to be even more excited than him, he hesitantly said, "However, the nurturing of this spirit mine seems to be a little strange." This disciple discovered that there are very few high-grade spirit stones appearing near the surface of the mine. There are only high-grade spirit stones after a few dozen meters deep. However, in terms of the total amount of spirit mine, this is indeed a mid-grade spirit mine. Lu Ping cursed inwardly. This Debao told him to only take high-grade spirit stones, but he was actually thinking of ways to be lazy. He only took all the high-grade spirit stones near the surface and revealed such a big flaw. At this moment, Lu Ping happened to see his teacher, Lu Tianling, Laozu, glancing at him with a faint smile. Lu Ping's expression quickly changed. He put on an expression of, "How could this be?" as he listened to Sage Enigma Flame's words. Sage Enigma Flame waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "To be able to obtain a mid-grade spirit mine is already a heavenly blessing. A mid-grade spirit mine does not produce many high-grade spirit stones to begin with. It is only normal for there to be less of them. Right now, the key issue is how to activate the Great Vein Suppression Spirit Lock Array without the other sects knowing and seal up this mid-grade spirit mine. Otherwise, it is only a matter of time before the other sects discover the existence of this spirit mine." Sage Enigma Flame's words caused Lu Ping and the others to frown. Once the spirit lock formation was activated, it would cause a great commotion. The entire Frost Island would notice it. When that happens, the news of this spirit mine would be exposed. Just as everyone was feeling helpless, they heard Lu Tianling, Laozu, say, "How many Ice Azura remnants have we discovered in the areas our sect has conquered?" Sage Enigma Flame's eyes lit up. He said, "So Senior Sister had such a plan when you didn't allow the disciples to encircle the Ice Azura. Currently, we have discovered more than 20 Ice Azuras. However, most of them are only at the blood condensation realm. Only 3 have reached the core forging realm." Lu Tianling, Laozu, nodded and said, "Although it's not much, it's barely enough. Junior brother Enigma, please put in more effort and use some methods to drive these Ice Azuras here. Then, kill them with lightning speed. Activate the spirit lock formation to guide the spirit mine under our sect's control. At the same time, activate the spirit lock formation." With the first 2 concealment methods, the cultivators of Frost Island should not be able to discover anything. On the second day, while Jinling was guiding the spirit mine, the new encampment was suddenly attacked by the Ice Azura remnants. Jinling, Sage Enigma Flame and Sage Enigma Flame worked together to kill them. On this day, the entire Frost Island was filled with rumbling noises. As the earth trembled, Jinling quietly activated the spirit lock formation. A mid-sized spirit mine was already in his hands. At this time, Lu Ping was pulling a storage pouch from the pitiful Debao's neck. He patted its head and said, "You're usually smart, why did you reveal such a big flaw in the spirit mine? I think you're just too lazy to go deeper underground." Debao evaded Lu Ping's demonic palm while squeaking and protesting loudly, "If it wasn't for this rat not going deeper underground and saving magic power and time, how could I have collected so many high-grade spirit stones?" Lu Ping shook the storage pouch downwards. With a crash, a pile of high-grade spirit stones appeared in front of Lu Ping. Lu Ping's eyes immediately lit up and he said, "So many?" No wonder Sage Enigma Flame almost didn't dare to believe that this was a mid-sized spirit mine. "So the high-grade spirit stones on the surface were all collected by you. Debao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're a little too greedy." Debao simply used its 2 almost invisible forelimbs to drag a high-grade spirit stone under its stomach. Then, it lay on the ground and closed its eyes to sleep. Lu Ping beamed with joy as he put the 150 high-grade spirit stones into his storage ring. Then, he looked at Debao who was pretending to sleep and said, "Aren't you bored?" Lu Ping was in urgent need of high-grade spirit stones to assist in his cultivation. After advancing to the middle stage of core forging, the North Sea Wave listening technique that Lu Ping originally cultivated was a cultivation technique that focused on the cultivation foundation and sacrificed cultivation speed. Coincidentally, when Lu Ping advanced to the middle stage of core forging, he smelted the profound essence heavy water. This kind of heaven-grade spirit object gave Lu Ping a more vigorous Xin Yuan and tyrannical strength. At the same time, it also caused Lu Ping's cultivation speed to greatly slow down. If this continued, without 10 or 20 years of effort, perhaps Lu Ping wouldn't even have enough Xin Yuan to reach the 5th layer of core forging. As a result, he could only work on cultivation resources. High-grade spirit stones were originally used by late-stage core forging cultivators to cultivate. However, at this time, with the Zhen Yuan in Lu Ping's body, using high-grade spirit stones to cultivate would not be a waste. The slow cultivation speed was also one of the reasons why Lu Ping opened up Huangli Island. Although Lu Ping had not yet advanced to the middle stage of core forging, he had already noticed that Lu Ping's cultivation speed was gradually slowing down because of the North Sea Wave listening technique. This was also the reason why he collected spirit veins from all over the place and moved them to Huangli Island. Unfortunately, Lu Ping originally wanted to move the small spirit vein that he found in the mid-sized spirit vein to Huangli Island. Then, he would report the matter of the mid-sized spirit vein to Master Yu. However, now he didn't have the opportunity to do so. Chapter 408. On Huangli Island, Hu Lili instructed Chen Lian and Jing Jia on some simple matters on the island, then said, "This time, I'll be bringing the amethyst bees to a spirit garden on Tianling Mountain. This time, it'll take at least 2 to 3 months, and at most half a year to return. Right now, this island has ancestor Tianling overseeing it, so there won't be any danger. It's just that I'll have to trouble you two with some daily chores." Jing Jia said casually, "Senior apprentice sister, don't worry. Ever since the battle on Huangli Island, the island's defenses have become much tighter. The cultivators who come and go are also much more disciplined. Now that Tianlin Laozu is on the island, who would dare to cause trouble? However, senior apprentice sister, you still have to be careful of Xianing and the others. Last time, they tried to kill Lu Qiner on Tianling Mountain. It's obvious that they were after you and little Lu. Why didn't little Lu kill them then?" Hu Lili shook her head helplessly. "It's better to be safe than sorry. Junior apprentice sister, you also have to focus on your cultivation. I heard that Zhang Zicheng also succeeded in condensing his core 2 months ago. Among us, you're the only one who hasn't advanced to the core forging realm yet. As for eldest senior apprentice sister and the others, they're still not powerful enough. The real threat is the people behind Xianing and the others." Jing Jia's face fell when she heard Hu Lili talk about cultivation. Seeing this, Hu Lili passed a jade crystal bottle to her and said, "This is a 7-step marked pill that Lu Ping left behind before he left. He asked me to give it to you. Previously, your foundation was still lacking. Although you've reached the peak of the blood condensation realm for many years, you haven't made any progress. I didn't give this pill to you because I wanted you to strengthen your foundation. That way, you'll be able to go further in the future." When Jing Jia saw the 7-step marked pill, her face was already filled with joy. She hurriedly snatched the jade crystal bottle from Hu Lili's hands. Hu Lili saw that Jing Jia was only happy. She didn't know how much of what she said had sunk in, so she let her be. Before Hu Lili left, she went to the secret room that Lu Ping usually used for cultivation. After she came out, she sealed the secret room again. Other than Lu Ping and Hu Lili, no one else came here. In a cave abode on Tianling Mountain, for core forging stage enlightened masters sat on the ground. If Lu Ping was here, he would recognize 3 of them as enlightened master Xianchang, enlightened master Xuanhe, and enlightened master Xianqing. Daoist master Xianchang hesitated for a moment and said to the cultivator sitting at the head of the table, "Senior martial brother Xian Shu, what happened on Huangli Island was beyond our expectations. This junior martial nephew Lu Xianping is clearly hiding his strength." Subsequently, the spirit vein was activated and stolen, becoming a laughingstock in the North Sea's cultivation world. Without the spirit vein, the protective formation on Flying Thunder Island was naturally destroyed. For the past few years, the Li family had always claimed that the person who stole their spirit vein was the water sword immortal, Lu Xianping. However, even if they had evidence, who would dare to offend the direct disciple of Fa Xiang, Laozu? Moreover, this direct disciple was a malefic star that should not be trifled with. Which early core forging cultivator would dare to lead a group of fellow disciples into the demon race's hinterland to expand their territory? Even if you had the courage, where did you get the strength? But this person dared to do it, and he succeeded. During the battle on Huangli Island, the water sword immortal, who had advanced to the mid-core forging stage, became even more arrogant. It was said that he had killed more than 7 or 8 metamorphosis stage demon cultivators. Who would dare to look down on the achievements of such a person? Enlightened Master Xianning pondered. Since the Li family had a grudge against that person, whether she was willing or not, she had also become enemies with that person. In that case, she could only befriend the Li family so that they could jointly resist the threat of that person in the future. After thinking it through, Enlightened Master Xianning immediately left her cave abode and flew out of Tianling Mountain. However, she did not notice that in a spirit garden outside her cave abode, a few purple bees were buzzing and flying around a few blooming spirit herbs. After Enlightened Master Xianning left, the largest purple bee flapped its wings and flew away with a few small bees. Enlightened Master Xianning flew in the air and was thinking about how to reveal her thoughts to enlightened Master Li Xianliang when she went to Flying Thunder Island. However, when she released her divine telekinesis, her expression suddenly changed and she shouted, "Who is it? Come out." "Haha, Auntie, you are so fierce." An 8 or 9-year-old little girl in white suddenly appeared in front of her, giggling crisply. Her face was full of baby fat, and it was indescribably adorable. However, enlightened Master Xianying's expression changed drastically when she released her divine telekinesis. She looked at the 8 or 9-year-old little girl in front of her and exclaimed, "Shape-shifted demonic cultivator." The little girl looked at the vigilant enlightened Master Xianying and pouted. "Ling doesn't like you, it's not fun." Enlightened Master Xianying saw that the other party was only a first-stage core forging realm cultivator and felt slightly relieved. She shouted sternly, "Bold demonic cultivator, how dare you go deep into Jinling's internal sea? Are you courting death?" Now, it seems that these two are indeed very talented. Senior brother Tian Lin is one thing, but even senior sister Tian Ling managed to catch up and defeat Feng Shuzhou. These two may not get along on the surface, but they support each other secretly. The disciples of the sect are like a family. Now, even the teachers have to give them face. Spiritual Master Xian Qing was shocked and said, "Even Uncle Master Tian Fan. How is that possible?" Spiritual Master Xian Shu smiled and said, "Now I finally understand why Martial Uncle Tian Xiang valued these two so much. 60 years ago, because of junior martial sister Xian Qing, senior martial brother Tian Lin and senior martial sister Tian Ling had a falling out. Senior martial sister Tian Ling madly chased after senior martial brother Tian Lin for 8 whole years, from the North Sea to the East Sea, then to the South Sea, and then back to the North Sea again. But every time one of them fell into a trap, the other would come to their rescue. The two of them worked together to kill 27 core forging cultivators in the North Sea, and more than half of them were in the late stage. Senior brother Tian Lin held back a little. As long as they escaped, he didn't chase after them. But senior sister Tian Ling killed every single one of them. Back then, all the core forging cultivators in the North Sea were terrified. Daoist Master Xian He and Daoist Master Xian Qing were stunned by Daoist Master Xian Shu's words, but their faces were flushed. Obviously, they were also excited by Jiang Tianlin and Lu Tianling's killing methods. Daoist Master Xian Chang was silent. Obviously, he had some understanding of what happened in the past, but his eyes flashed with surprise from time to time. He didn't know why Daoist Master Xian Shu knew so much about it. Xian Ling's sect was the sect that schemed against us the most in North Sea, and this time was naturally no exception. The cultivators who schemed against them the most were also from Xian Ling's sect, and the ones who were killed the most were also from Xian Ling's sect. In the end, Xian Ling's sect's avatar Laozu was forced to break North Sea's rules and interfere in the dark. Spiritual Master Xian Qing and Spiritual Master Xian Qing's expressions changed. Spiritual Master Xian Chang seemed to have thought of something, and he hesitated for a moment before he said with slight uncertainty, "Could it be Dao Kong Laozu?" Spiritual Master Xian Qing and Spiritual Master Xian He cried out at the same time, "Impossible, didn't Xian Ling's sect's Dao Kong Laozu die 50 years ago?" Yes, 50 years ago, he was heavily injured and died while exploring the ruins of an ancient cultivator, right? Spiritual Master Xian Qing and Spiritual Master Xian He looked at Spiritual Master Xian Shu's mocking gaze and nodded numbly. Then, they heard Spiritual Master Xian Shu's faint voice travel into their ears. "You should have figured it out by now, right?" Spiritual Master Xianchang recalled the events of the past and said, "Senior sister Tian Ling pursued senior brother Tian Lin for 8 years, and our sect became the laughingstock of all the sects in the North Sea. According to common sense, she should have lost her position as the sect's deacon, but Guo Xianshan, Li Xianyin, Chu Xuanqing, Liang Xianfeng, and a few other disciples with the most weight in the sect all unanimously objected to replacing senior sister Tianling as the sect's deacon. Originally, the sect didn't mention this matter to anyone, and it would have been fine, but we just had to bring it up. Senior brother Guo Xianshan had no choice but to take over the sect's deacon position. At this time, spiritual master Guo Xuanshan's face was gloomy, and he was looking at a corpse in the sea with Jinling and a few other core forging stage cultivators. It was spiritual master Xianing, who had already died. A core forging stage cultivator stepped forward and said, "Senior brother Guo, it's a monster." Spiritual master Guo Xianshan frowned and said, "It's really a monster. Didn't you find anything else? Although the inner sea of the North Sea is not impregnable, it's impossible for a monster cultivator in human form to sneak into our sect's inner sea." After senior sister Tianling's Dharma manifestation assembly, she set up many warning mechanisms in the North Sea. How can a monster cultivator just come in like that? If Lu Ping was here, he would recognize this Jinling cultivator who reported to spiritual master Guo Xianshan. It was spiritual master Chao, whom Lu Ping had met in the Seven Stars Grotto Heaven years ago, and who had taken good care of him. Spiritual master Chao smiled helplessly and said, "Not only is it a monster cultivator, there are 3 of them, and their cultivation is not high. It seems that they have just entered the core forging stage, and their control of their true essence is not good enough, but their attacks are fierce." Martial niche Xianing has been practicing array formations with senior sister Shenchen for many years. Although she is weak, her defense should not be too bad, but these 3 monsters easily broke through her defense and killed her. Spiritual master Guo Xuanshan's face was as gloomy as water. He said, "Can you determine what kind of monster did it?" Spiritual master Chao shook his head and said, "It's hard to say. It seems that the monster cultivators are more likely to be snakes, but it is only a possibility. Besides, snakes are the most widely distributed among the overseas monster cultivators, and there are many kinds of them, so it is difficult to investigate." Spiritual master Guo Xianshan said fiercely, "Investigate. First investigate the core forging stage cultivators of our sect, and then investigate the cultivators above the core forging stage in the sect's territory. See who has a core forging stage monster pet, especially a snake-type monster pet. Early stage core forging stage, especially a monster pet that has just entered the core forging stage. Since 50 years ago, no one has dared to kill our core forging stage cultivators in our sect's territory. They seem to have forgotten why our sect is able to establish a foothold in the North Sea." A murderous aura erupted from spiritual master Guo Xuanshan's body. Next to him, spiritual master Chao, who had been wandering in the dark side of Jinling all year round, also shivered, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. One of the most terrifying things in this world was an honest person getting angry. That was a kind of stubbornness that would not stop until one side was dead. Spiritual master Chao suddenly remembered the legend of some of the high-level cultivators of his sect. That incident 50 years ago, spiritual master Guo Xianshan also gained his fame by killing the corpses of core forging stage cultivators from various sects. Lu Ping had been away from Frost Island for more than a year. As soon as he came down from the teleportation array, he saw Hu Lili rushing towards the teleportation array. When Lu Ping saw that although Hu Lili's expression was trying to remain calm, her panicked footsteps seemed to be avoiding something. Lu Ping's heart sank. At this time, Hu Lili raised her head and saw Lu Ping walking down the teleportation array. Joy immediately appeared on her face, but it was soon replaced by melancholy. "Looks like something really happened." Lu Ping walked up and chuckled, "I didn't think you'd still remember that today is the day I return. You're so accurate with your timing." Hu Lili was taken aback for a moment, but she quickly understood. No matter what had happened, if she left in a hurry, she would definitely leave a trace of suspicion. She was a disciple of Jinling's sect, where could she hide? It was not like she could betray the sect. If she stayed in Tianling Mountain with a clear conscience, she would not attract any attention. Hu Lili immediately forced a smile and said, I was commanding the amethyst wasps to take advantage of the spiritual herb gardens of the various clans on Heaven's Spirit Mountain. I almost forgot that you're returning to Heaven's Spirit Mountain today. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked towards Lu Ping's dwelling on Heaven's Spirit Mountain. However, they did not notice that a person had walked out from the Heaven's Spirit Hall in front of the teleportation array. He looked at the direction the two of them had left in and seemed to be thinking. However, he then shook his head and continued to hide behind the door of Heaven's Spirit Mountain. When Lu Ping saw Hu Lily's strange expression earlier, he had used his soul sense to scan the surroundings of the teleportation array. However, he did not discover that there was actually a person hiding in Heaven's Spirit Mountain nearby. Chapter 410. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. The protective formation of Tingtao's cave on Heaven's Spirit Mountain hadn't been activated yet. However, Lu Ping had set up many temporary restrictions inside the cave. Sitting next to Lu Ping in the cultivation room was an uneasy Hu Lily. In front of them were three innocent children who looked to be around 8 or 9 years old. Lu Ping didn't feel the slightest bit of joy when he saw Samling, who had successfully transformed into a core forging realm cultivator. Samling lowered his head and didn't dare to look up at Lu Ping. Tell me, who gave you the courage to kill people in the inner sea? You killed a senior sister from the same sect as your father, and you had to call her senior aunt when you saw her. Have you grown so strong after transforming? Hu Lily's face paled when she saw Lu Ping's anger. She hurriedly said, "This is all my fault. I heard that senior sister Xian Ying plotted against Lu Qiner, and even joined forces with Xian Yu and Reverend Shen Xiang to challenge you. I have some understanding of this eldest senior sister. With her abilities, she definitely doesn't have the ability or courage to scheme against you. There must be someone behind her. That's why she took the opportunity to secretly monitor eldest senior sister while she was releasing the bees on Heavenly Spirit Mountain. She just wants to find out who is behind eldest senior sister." Hu Lily saw that although Lu Ping was listening, his expression was still cold. It was obvious that he was still angry. Hu Lily regretted taking matters into her own hands, but she still felt wronged. After all, she only wanted to help Lu Ping. Now that she had made a huge mistake, Hu Lily had no choice but to explain everything clearly. She had no choice but to continue. After you went to Frost Island, senior sister cultivated in seclusion all day long. She rarely came out of her own cave, let alone other people. But yesterday, she suddenly received an invitation and left Heaven's Spirit Mountain. I sent Samling to follow and monitor her, but I didn't expect things to turn out like this. Is there a need to bring the three of them along to release the bees at Tianling Mountain? Lu Ping glanced at Hu Lily, then pointed at the three little fellows in front of him and said with a sneer, "I'm afraid these three little bastards can't stay in the Golden House after transforming. They must feel that they are much stronger than before after advancing to the Gold Core stage and have been looking for an opponent to test their skills for a long time." When Samling saw that Lu Ping had guessed their thoughts, he couldn't help but shrink his neck, and his chin touched his chest. Now that things had come to this, the key point was not to get angry, but to deal with this matter. Senior Uncle Guoxian Shan looked humble on the surface, but he was a meticulous person on the inside. That bad person is only at the first layer of core forging realm. How could she be a match for us? Arrogant! Lu Ping shouted, "You think you're so powerful just because you killed 2 low-level core forging realm cultivators? Not to mention that there are many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the cultivation world. No one dares to say that they're invincible among cultivators of the same level. Even if you join forces, few can defeat you, but what if you meet cultivators who have more people than you? What if you meet mid-stage core forging realm cultivators? What about late-stage core forging realm cultivators? What about Fa Xiang Laozu? At that time, you can only be used to subdue demons. Think about where you killed them, and who they were. This is your father's sect, so it's your sect. That Taoist master Xianing should have been called senior sister by your father, and you should have been called martial ant. How could you kill her just because you said so? Samling had never seen Lu Ping reprimand so severely. Tears welled up in his eyes, making him look very pitiful. Hu Lily blamed herself even more. She pulled the 3 children into her arms and said, "I didn't explain this clearly in advance. You can't blame the children. If the sect investigates, I'll take full responsibility." Humph. Lu Ping snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Other than the anger in his heart, his reprimand was also to teach Samling a lesson. Samling was, after all, a demon cultivator. Their wild nature was innate. In their eyes, except for Lu Ping, they didn't care about anything else. Moreover, they preferred to eliminate all threats in the bud, regardless of the consequences. In the future, the 3 spirits would definitely be able to help him gain a foothold in the cultivation world. In the future, even his identity might not be a secret anymore. If he still had this wild nature, not only would he attract a lot of enemies, the 3 spirits might even be killed before he could grow. Looking at the 3 children hiding in Hu Lily's arms and looking at him pitifully, Lu Ping's heart softened. However, he still said harshly, "From today onwards, without my permission, none of you are allowed to appear in front of others." For some reason, Spiritual Master Xian Ying's death did not cause much of a stir in the sect. Lu Ping guessed that it might be because he didn't want to cause panic among the cultivators of the sect, the various forces, and the itinerant cultivators. After all, the demon race could enter and leave the inner sea of Jinling. This was an incredible thing. However, he became more cautious in his heart. 3 days later, Hu Lily returned to Huangli Island with the swarm of amethyst bees. Lu Ping went to Chonghua Palace. Although Lu Tianling Laozu was not there, the palace was not closed. As Tianling Laozu's direct disciple, Lu Ping naturally had the right to enter and exit his master's cave. He found a few jade slips that his master had collected in his early years, then informed the girl who guarded the cave and returned to his own cave. The next day, a violent spiritual vibration suddenly erupted from Tianling Mountain. Lu Ping was shocked. There was a battle, and it was a battle of life and death. Lu Ping quickly left the cave and fled in the direction of the battle. At this time, the battle had alarmed almost all the core forging cultivators in Tianling Mountain. In the sky, rays of light flew in the direction of the battle. When Lu Ping arrived, the battle had already ended. In front of the cave of an early core forging cultivator called Xian Bo, Spiritual Master Xian Bo was being taken away by Spiritual Master Guo Shenshan and a few other core forging cultivators. Spiritual Master Xian Bo had already passed out. It seemed that he was not knocked unconscious, but was imprisoned after being captured. Spiritual Master Guo Shenshan turned around and looked at the cultivators who were rushing in the sky. He said coldly, "All of you, disperse." Spiritual Master Guo did not explain to the crowd why he captured Spiritual Master Xian Bo. Lu Ping asked the surrounding cultivators about Spiritual Master Xian Bo's background, but all he knew was that Spiritual Master Xian Bo was usually quiet and spent most of his time in closed-door cultivation. Lu Ping's intuition told him that this matter was caused by Spiritual Master Xian Ying, but he didn't know why Spiritual Master Xian Bo was involved. 2 days later, a shocking piece of news came from Jinling. One of the sect's mid-core forging cultivators, Spiritual Master Xian Yun, had defected. Jinling immediately announced that Spiritual Master Xian Yun was a traitor and put him on the wanted list in the entire North Sea. This Spiritual Master Xian Yun first escaped to Xian Ling's sect's direction through a teleportation array, then disappeared without a trace. Jinling accused Xian Ling's sect of harboring a traitor, or a spy for Xian Ling's sect. Xian Ling's sect denied that Spiritual Master Xian Yun was hiding in the sect, and even refuted Jinling's false accusations. Jinling had no evidence, so he could only leave the matter unsettled. Spiritual Master Xian Yun was nowhere to be seen, and his corpse was never found. Lu Ping knew this Spiritual Master Xian Yun. Speaking of which, Lu Ping didn't have a good impression of him. When Lu Ping returned from the East Sea, he used the Li family to establish his dominance. It was this spiritual master Xian Yun and the Yuan and Lin families' core forging cultivators who appeared to stop Lu Ping when Lu Ping was about to defeat Li Xianliang. Who would have thought that this spiritual master Xian Yun was actually a spy sent by Xian Ling's sect? Lu Ping couldn't believe it, but he could only sigh at the impermanence of the world. However, the doubts in his heart only deepened. However, the matter didn't seem to be over yet.